बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यश्छन्दसा मृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया आस्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणं जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवं ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिः पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव स्वमृतमस्मि द्रविणगुंसवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः आप्यायन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य म आनीस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधितेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं नो अपि वातय मनः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदां च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तगुंहदेवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं तोटकं वार्तिककारम् अन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मनमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतम् मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये यस्यैव स्फुरणं सदात्मकम् असत्कल्पार्थकं भासते साक्षात् तत्त्वमसीति वेदवचसा यो बोधयत्याश्रितान् यत्साक्षात्करणाद् भवेन्न पुनरावृत्तिर्भवाम्भोनिधौ तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नानाच्छिद्रघटोदरस्थितमहादीपप्रभाभास्वरं ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकरणद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते जानामीति तमेव भान्तमनुभात्येतत्समस्तं जगत् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये देहं प्राणमपीन्द्रियां चलां बुद्धिं च शून्यं विदुः स्त्रीबालान्दजडोपमास्त्वमिति भ्रान्ताभृशं वादिनः मायाशक्तिविलासकल्पितमहाव्यामोहसंहारिणे तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। So today we will start the revision of the third and the fourth sutras. Hopefully it'll give, pardon me, we may not be able to finish Sutra number 4, but we'll finish 3 for sure, and we will probably take a good part of the fourth sutra as well. So as I was mentioning, I was thinking about after the 4 sutras are over, what should we do? And I have an idea of what I want to do. So I would like to give you a little bit more detailed structure of the rest of the Brahma Sutras, how they are divided up and so on. We kind of did that in the beginning, but let me elaborate it a little bit more. So you have a structure of all the 555 sutras, how they are laid out. Then I propose that we take one or two sutras from each of the four chapters and kind of give you an idea on how the Shankara Bhashya on these sutras explains the structure of the sutras, how it is done. In fact, the sutras themselves will also be very educational, but the Shankara Bhashya itself will give us some additional clarity on the structure of the sutra. So we will take up maybe one or two sutras from each of the four chapters to give you a representative idea on how to analyze the importance of the sutras. So that's what we will do. Probably I would say maybe this will take, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 more classes. And so then after that, the entire sutras are all finished. Then after that, I want to start a new text which I will tell you about later. But let's go through with the Brahma Sutra. So now what we saw was that let's do all the four sutras. Athato Brahma Jigyasa Janmadyasya Yataha Shastrayo Nitva Tattu Samanvayat. So in the second sutra, Janmadyasya Yataha is the Lakshana Sutra, as we saw already. So Lakshana Sutra means exactly what is the uniqueness about Brahman that we would look into. What is unique about the Atma? There's something unique about you and I, which we gloss over. We don't. It's all mixed up with Anatma, so we cannot really distinguish it. But there is something unique about it. That's the Lakshana of the Brahman. So this is what we saw in the second sutra. So here, the Lakshana being, pardon me. So the Lakshana being such that there are people who do not understand the importance of the Vedic knowledge, Vedanta, and especially Vedanta, but even Purva Mimamsa and so on. They don't quite understand it. They say, okay, we accept the fact that Brahman is the source of all beginning, steadiness, and dissolution of the whole world. Okay, we understand that. So that means Brahman is the karta, must be the karta, must be the doer of the entire world. So here's what we say. This is an important thing to see. We say, yes, but that is not enough. We need to categorically tell you who the karta is. The inference of the karta is doubtful. It cannot be inferred. When we went through all this in the last few classes, I thought I'd give you an example. So suppose you are looking for, supposing you are looking for a guru in the Himalayas. So you find that there is one very wise person who lives in a hut in the outskirts of a town. And so you said, these days, of course, the guru comes to you, but in those days, you had to go to the guru. And so you are looking for that guru, and you want to visit the Mahatma. And so you are looking around. There's no, it's not in Google Maps or anything like this. You have to look around, ask people, hey, have you heard of such Mahatma and all that? So people will say, yes, yes, we have heard about it. So it's in that direction. He looks, it's on the edge of that town, and if you go there, you can ask somebody, but he's around there somewhere. So you know what this means, that the person who you are asking has some knowledge of the person, the Mahatma, but has never really been there himself. So you ask a few people like this, hey, have you heard of this Mahatma? He says, yeah, that is correct. You go in that direction, and he's towards the end. When you go there, then you can find out. So the second sutra is like that. It says that, yeah, I think we can figure out that if it is said that the God is the, this is all the religious views are the same. They feel that God is defined as someone who is the creator of the whole thing, and he is totally powerful and totally knowledgeable. And you say, but where is that God? They'll say he's up there somewhere. Just believe in him, and so on. So that's exactly like this. You're asking the people, where is God? And they'll say, oh, he's around here, but it's very obvious that the whole world came from him, and so he is the Karta. And where he is and so on, we're not sure exactly, but believe in him. This is exactly what it is. Then it's very possible that as you are searching for this Mahatma, I'm still going back to the same example. So when you're searching for this Mahatma, you say, oh, are you looking for such and such Mahatma? You say, yes. He says, oh my gosh, you are one lucky guy. When you go there, you won't believe what a beautiful ashram he has. So now that means that the person has been there. It's like not one of those townspeople who kind of has an idea of where the person is, but has never really visited. And so now you found somebody, and then you say, really? Oh, I'm very happy for you to say that. How do I get there? He says, okay, it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. But let me tell you, you have a paper and pencil, write it down. You go here, then you turn left, and then you will see a little shop that sells groceries. It's a little hut. And right after the first, then you turn right and go up the mountain a little bit, and at the end of that you will find it. I would love to go there with you because I love going there, but right now I'm pretty busy. But this is a short method. Congratulations. So there is a difference between these 2 or 3 people who said, yeah, it's around there somewhere. They're also right, but they haven't been there. But the person who has experienced the presence of the Mahatma in the hut speaks differently. The third sutra, Shastra Yonitvat, is such a sutra like that person who has been there. This is it. This is the difference between the second sutra and the third sutra. The second sutra begins to define it, and correctly so, but it is still speculative for all the reasons that we saw. The third sutra is authoritative. It says that the entire Vedas is, so actually the third sutra, now we can go into the third sutra, Shastra Yonitvat. So the Shastra Yonitvat has really two meanings. Okay, so two meanings are Brahman is the cause of the Vedas. Shastra. Shastra means Vedas. Shastra Yonihi. Yonihi means the one that causes. It's the very beginning point. Is the Karta of the Veda. So this is one. There are two meanings. Both of them are correct and both lead to the same thing. Okay. So the first one is that Brahman is the Karta of Vedas. Okay. The second one is Brahman is the subject of the Vedas. Vedasya kartatvam and Vedasya vishayatvam api Brahmanaha lakshanam. So now both of them are there. So this is interesting because there are, you can say there is a Purva Pakshi, there is a doubter, which says, wait, I understand from the second sutra that Janmadi Asya Yataha, because Janma, Srishti and Laya is the result, it's the karyam for this Brahman. This I understand. It means anything that you experience, anything that you see in the world, that you saw in the past, currently or in the future, is all created by Ishwara. We know that. But Vedas we don't agree with. What? Isn't Vedas are also part of the world? No. So this is now the Karma Kandin that raises his hand and says, no. Vedas are different. How are the Vedas different? Tell me. Vedas are anadi. Anadi means that they have always been there. See, that's the belief of the Karma Kandins, that the Vedas are anadi, have no beginning. They've always been there. And they'll always be there. So therefore, they say, Vedas being already always there cannot be created by Ishwara. As you are saying that Janmadhyasya Yataha. So the Vedas is an exception. It's almost like something parallel. In fact, this is very interesting that a lot of the Karmakandins don't believe in Ishwara. Don't believe in Ishwara. They believe in the Vedas and they believe in the power of the mantras. That if you just do the mantra, it'll take you there. So we asked someone, where did the mantra come from? Who designed the mantra? Did it do it itself? Because mantras are jada, it is inert. Unless you have a Chaitana Vastu. So how can you say that? He says, no, but it works. We don't know where it come from or anything, but you don't have to do any prayer to Ishwara. You just chant the mantras, and the mantras will give you mukti. It'll take you to wherever you want to go. So he said, come on. This is, okay, so one thing we say is, all right, you see that the Vedas are perennial. They are anadi. You know how it is? It is exactly like manifestation and unmanifestation. So you have a seed which is unmanifest, then you have a tree which is manifest. And so, even though it is anadi, Ishwara is also anadi. It's not as though Vedas are anadi and Brahman is not. So the Vedasya anatitvam comes from Ishwara. It is actually the form of Ishwara. So if you say that the Vedas are Sarvagyaha and Sarvashaktiman, which is true, Vedas means that it is the full knowledge to live a full life. Everything that you need. You don't need anything. Nothing is, oops, I forgot to, about. No. It has everything. The Vedas is Sarvagyaha. If Vedas is Sarvagyaha, then the author of the Vedas is even more Sarvagyaha. So we say, no. You cannot exclude the Vedas, as that is not something that the Ishwara did not do. It is all part of Ishwara alone. So, and now that part has to be authoritatively and confidently talked about, like that person who says, oh, I know that person, the Mahatma, go there, I know it. So this is what the Vedas are saying, that Shastra Yonitvat, that really speaking, Brahman is either the author or the Vishaya. Both are correct. Because you can say that how is Brahma the author? How is Ishwara the author of Vedas? Let me tell you about it. And that letting you and telling you about it is the Vishaya. So the Vedas actually describe, including the manifestation, non-manifestation, all of those kinds of things. It describes the actual the description of Brahman. It's exactly like this person who says, let me tell you exactly what you will find when you go there. You will find that there's a beautiful ashram, and there is a road leading up to it, there are some steps. All those kinds of things he will accurately describe. He is the authoritative descriptor of the Mahatma. Similarly, the verse number 3 is no longer a inference, no longer speculation, no longer an approximate idea. It is a specific, authoritative description of what Brahman is. This is the reason for the third. And so also it is so you can encapsulate this idea by the following sentence: Brahman na anumana vishaya Shastra Vishayatvat Dharmavat. Let me repeat that sentence. Brahman na anumana vishaya. It is not the subject of speculation or inference. Kintu, you can add kintu. However, on the other hand, Brahman Shastra Vishayatvat. Because it is the very subject of the Shastra, Dharmavat. Dharmavat means that like. So you have to give an example. You have to give an example because anytime you have to say that this is the mountain is on fire because we saw that whenever there is fire, there is smoke. So you have to give an example. So here also dharmavat. Dharmavat means what? This is an important thing to see. Dharmavat means that Vedas confirm the presence of punya and papa. Punya and papa. This is a very big thing because if you look at the world, what we see is that there is some confusion because if you do something bad, you may be caught, you may not be caught. You may be punished, you may not be punished. You may be recognized or not recognized. That all happens. And so, in fact, people steal and rob and so on in the hope that they will not be caught. And that's all part of the world. And so, to do something and to escape punishment is all part of the world. Possibly escape punishment. Not always, but it's possible. That's what gives hopes to the people who are criminals. That maybe will not be caught. That will be wonderful. And it is true that many of the times they are not caught and they can. In fact, this is I see this. People sometimes brag about the fact that they were not caught. This happens, you see this from time to time. Even in some very serious crimes like murder. If a person murdered someone and was not caught, and he feels very gloating about it. Not only did I murder, but nobody was able to see it. And they are anxious to say that to someone. So in some happy hour when they are sitting next to him, he says, "Do you know I have murdered a couple of people?" I say, "Really? Where?" He says, No, I don't believe you." "Yes, I'm telling you. Well, let me explain to you how I did it." Now he's anxious to prove. So they themselves actually blurt out. Anyway, what I'm saying is that in the world, there is no concept of punya and papa. The Vedas say, you see, this is interesting. If you look at, I don't know how many other religious thoughts have done this to this degree as the Vedic. It says, karma and karma phala are incontrovertible. That does not violate any rules. But then how come the person is not caught? He will be caught. He will be caught not in this life, perhaps in next life. In next life, he will have to undergo some punishment for it. There is no possibility of any transgression in this. So this is what is called dharma. So the word dharmavat means, dharma and adharma means that any action has, as you know very well, has two components. One component is pratyaksha, right away it happens. Like for example, supposing there is a road rage and somebody just takes out a gun and shoots the other person. So the person is dead. This is one aspect of it. And supposing you run away, then there is a second component which is a papa component which will come later. It's registered somewhere. This is what is called dharma. So this dharma is described in the Vedas by the word Apoorva. Apoorva. This Apoorva is an important word, and I think you must know it by now. In case you don't, it is worth noting. Called Apoorva. There are people with the name. I have a friend whose name is Apoorva, Apoorva Chandra. Apoorva means, that is a separate name. Apoorva means one which was not known before. Unique. Something that was not known at all until it was explained by the Vedas. Same thing on Punya Papa is Apoorva. So Apoorva means that we have no idea about Punya and Papa until we are told by the Vedic Shastra that yes, there is Punya Papa. You cannot escape it. Everything is very well explained by the Dharma Shastra. So here also, like Dharma, Brahman is the Shastrasya Vishaya. This is also Apoorva. This is the point that we are making. The fact that Brahman is the subject matter of the Vedas is also Apoorva, like a Dharma. Okay. So this is an important word, Apoorva. Please remember that. And then we won't go in through this. I want to really quickly revise it. How do we know this? Because in the entire Vedanta Shastra, this is pointed out at various places. And so this is not just one thing. As you know, this is Brahma Sutra means Vedanta Sutra. So it's all over there, everywhere. So now we can quickly revise the first three sutras. The first sutra is Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So it's called Jigyasa Adhikaranam, which says that there arises a desire to know something which is fundamental to our living. And that desire, once that arises, there is an answer. If it doesn't arise, there's no question of an answer. So this is not an, the other part of the jigyasa is that if you have that jigyasa, if you have that desire to know, you will find the answer. It's not like saying, oh, I'm speculating, I don't think I'll ever find it. No. That's the meaning of the first one. Then the Janmadi Adhikaranam is the Lakshana. Shastra Yoni Adhikaranam, Adhikarana means subject, is the Pramanam. So with that, I think I would leave the third sutra. And that summarizes the importance and the nature of the third sutra. And so we'll close that, and let's now go into Sutra number 4, Tattu Samanvayat. So Tattu Samanvayat is an important sutra also. In fact, so important that the name of the first chapter, see, there are 4 chapters in Brahma Sutra, and the first chapter is called Samanvaya Adhyaya. So this sutra is the beginning of the very first, is the beginning of the explanation of the entire chapter. not just one sutra. This is how important it is. So this is called Samanvaya Adhyaya. So what is Samanvaya? So Samanvaya is defined as Tatparya Nishchaya. Okay, so you say, gosh, I didn't know. I thought you were going to explain Samanvaya in things that I can understand. Now you came up with something just as mysterious. Through Samanvaya you say Tatparya Nishchaya. What is that? Tatparya Nishchaya means the ascertainment. Nishchaya means ascertainment, a definiteness about it, of Tatparya. Tatparya means the truth of it, the essential truth of it, the essential meaning of it is called Tatparya. So Tatparya means that, so you're talking about a number of things. So what does it amount to? Tell me in basic terms, what is the essence of it? Like, for example, you can see the ash that you may put on your forehead like I did. Ashes are the essence of everything. When you burn things, what is left behind is the ash. So this is a symbol of the essence of the whole creation. Om is the essence of the whole creation. This is called Tatparya. So the Nishchaya of the Tatparya, the ascertainment of the Tatparya is called Samanvaya. Samanvaya can also be thought about as consistency. So what is consistent is truth. What is inconsistent is not the truth. So the ascertainment of consistency is called Samanvaya. So the name of the sutra is Tat Tu Samanvayat. So you can add, so this is a sutra, which means that it's very cryptic. So you can add some things to it to make it clearer. Tat means, of course, Brahman. The word Tat, which is that. The word that, which is Paroksha Vishaya, is Brahman. So Tattu Samanvaya means, leave aside tu for a minute. Let's leave, that will come later. So let's go to Tat Samanvayat. Brahmanaha eva shastrasya vishaya. This is what we need to add. Because of the consistency, which we will see in a few minutes. So what do you mean by consistency? Because of the consistency, the Tatparya of the Shastra is Brahman's Vishaya. That is the subject matter of Shastra. This is the meaning of Tattu Samanvaya. Now the word tu. So tu means not anything else that you think of. And you can think of a number of different things. Starting with the fact that you see Brahman, Ishwara, God, however you see it, as being different from you. Sitting somewhere, not here. See, that itself, the very conclusion that we have in our life about yourself is bad, is wrong. The very conclusion that I am a person. I'm a person. I've got a body, face, I can talk. This is me. And implicit in this is, I am different from everybody else. Certainly different from God. I don't want God to have my problems. My problems are really worse. I don't wish upon God to have these problems. So He's definitely different from me. God bless God. I don't want Him to have my problems. This is my conclusion. This is explained by the word tu. So Shankara also says the word tu is Purva Paksha Vyavritti Artha, as we've seen this when we went through the details. That means now all the subject matter as envisioned by any doubters is wrong. Because the Shastra Vishaya is really Brahman alone. That what is what is talked about, nothing else. So now I think what we can do is we can challenge this notion. We can challenge this notion. So for example, take Bhagavad Gita. So everybody agrees that the Bhagavad Gita is a very profound spiritual text, and people just swear by it. It's like an ocean. You can take a dip in it, and every time you take a deep dive into the bottom of the ocean, you come out with new jewels, new animals that live there that you never knew. So it's a treasure cove. That's what Bhagavad Gita is. But the Bhagavad Gita has many topics. Many topics. Not just one topic. There is karma. There is karma yoga. So one is the doing the actions, one is the attitude. Karma yoga means the attitude of doing the action. Then you have upasana, you have bhakti. Then you have jnanam. Then you have how to act in life. That Arjuna, you must fight, you cannot just give up. Why? And so, courage and to overcome adharma, all of those kinds of subjects, there are many subjects. So how do we know which is the main subject? Maybe there is no main subject. Maybe there is no main subject. There are, and in fact, this is exactly what happens. I've seen so many people who apply Bhagavad Gita for practical solutions. There are several people that I know who teach Gita to business executives. Because the business executives have some shraddha towards Bhagavad Gita, but they don't understand how exactly Bhagavad Gita can be applied. So these people get into the business of explaining the lessons learned from the Bhagavad Gita towards their daily life. So that's also a topic, different kind of, there's jewels from the Bhagavad Gita. So how can you say there is a single topic? Maybe the Shastra is exactly the same way. How do you know that Brahman is the Vishaya for Shastra. Particularly if supposing there is an author and it's a living person, still living, you can knock on their door and say, "Sir, we have a doubt exactly. You have a very complicated essay with lots of different advice given here. What is the central theme of what did you mean to convey when you wrote this piece?" You can go to the author and ask them. Here, the author is not there anymore. You have the Vedas themselves, but the author of the Vedas is not visible. You cannot knock on the author of the Vedas doors and says, "Can you please tell us, Ishwara, what you meant by the Vedas?" So, barring that, how do we know? So here we say that is a good question. We absolutely agree with you. So let us agree on a litmus test of what the Tatparya is. We need to develop a construct of reasons by which we can determine what is the Tatparya. And so this has been well developed and agreed to by all the wise people who think about these things, and it is as follows. This was in some detail. I didn't want to revise it in my own notes, so I thought I will just go through. So this is what is called Tatparya Nishchaya or Linga. Linga also means the same thing. Linga means that this is, Linga, as you know, Lingyate anena iti lingam, means that if you follow this direction you will reach. It's called lingam. So the lingam for the Tatparya Nishchaya is the following: Upakrama, Upasamhara, Abhyasa, Apoorvata, Phalam, Arthavada, Upapatti. This is called lingam. In fact, it says Upakrama, Upasamhara, Abhyaso, Purvata, Phalam, Arthavada, Upapatti cha lingam Tatparya Nirnaye. Nishchaya and Nirnaya is the same. Nirnaye for the ascertainment of Tatparya. The lingam is, here are the factors: Upakrama, Upasamhara, Abhyasa, Apoorvata, Phalam, Arthavada and Upapatti. So let's go into this, and then I think that with that we would have really done most of the fourth sutra. So the first one is, he says, this is the litmus test to find out what is the central theme. One is Upakrama and Upasamhara. Upakrama means beginning, and Upasamhara means the end. So if you look at any article that you see which is very well written, or a good discourse, a speech given by someone on a deep subject, what you will see is Upakrama or Upasamhara. How? Because a person will say, I'm going to tell you about the following things. Then he or she tells you about the things that he or she wishes to talk about. And in the end he says, in summary, therefore, we talked about the following things. This is called Upasamhara. Upakrama is, this is what I'm going to talk about, And in the end this is what I talked about. Hopefully the two are the same. Because it's very possible that you may say, I'm going to talk about this. And you don't talk about that, and you summarize something totally different. Then we would have confusion. But really, the main subject matter should be defined in the beginning and in the end. So that would mean upakrama, upasamhara. And so this is done in the Shastra. So here you can take any of the examples. In Chandogya, this is one example. In Chandogya, in the 6th chapter, where Shvetaketu is taught by, this is the very famous Tattvamasi section, that I want to know Brahman. So the teacher says in the beginning, Sadeva Saumya idam agre asit. So Sadeva Saumya idam agre asit means that in the beginning this was only the unmanifested Brahman was at the beginning of the cycle of creation. And then in the end, it is Brahman alone. So it talks about the upakrama, upasamhara. I won't have time to go through all of that. You saw that when we first went through this, but that's exactly it is. Then Tattvamasi Shvetaketo. This is called upasamhara, upakrama, upasamhara. The second one is Abhyasa. Abhyasa means a certain amount of emphasis through repetition. It's called Abhyasa. So Abhyasa means that if it is an important topic, then it must be repeated in a lengthy treatise. And so here also in the 6th chapter, as an example, Etad Atmyamidam Tattvamasi Shvetaketo is repeated 9 times. Etad Atmyamidam Tattvamasi Shvetaketo, Etam Atmyamidam Tattvamasi Shvetaketo, etc. 9 times it is repeated. So consistency, it is called Abhyasa. So to ascertain the topic, Abhyasa is recognized as part of that. Third one is what we talked about, Apoorva. So the fourth one, Upakrama, Upasamhara 2, Abhyasa number 3. Fourth one is Apoorvata. Apoorvata means one which is not known in any other way. So it is called Pramananantar Avedyatvam. Sanskrit word for that. Pramanantara. By any other pramana, Avedyatvam. It is not known by any other pramana. Even through Karmakanda. Because in Karmakanda, which also has Apoorvata, as we saw earlier, now you can see that. Karmakanda also has Apoorvata, but it has Apoorvata for Punya Papa, for Karma and Karma Phala, the completeness of it, the thoroughness of it. So even though that Karmakanda also has Apoorvata, it is the Apoorvata of a different subject altogether. Here this is not possible to know by any other means, certainly not by our sense organs or by reasoning. No, it's something unique that has to be talked about. So this is called Apoorvata. So that's number 4. Here, Swami Paramarthananda had talked about this very beautiful example. See how much time we have, because I want to finish this section of the lingam. So Swami Paramarthananda had pointed out this very famous example that and it's also in the same sixth chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad, where the teacher tells his son, bring a vessel of water and also a lump of salt. And leave it overnight. There's a lump of salt. You put that in, not dissolve, but you put that into the water. You close the cupboard and leave it overnight. In the morning, you get up and you open the cupboard and you look at the water in the vessel. Is there any lump of salt? No, there's no lump of salt. Can you taste the water? Yes, it's salty. Can you see the salt? No, I cannot see the salt. So therefore, even though it pervades in the water, it is imperceptible. It is imperceptible. It cannot be seen. It can only be seen. So you see, just because you don't see the salt dissolved in the water, you cannot say it is not there. It just has to be seen in the right way. That's all it means. So there, if you can taste it, you can confirm its presence. Seeing it does not confirm its presence. You're looking at it the wrong way. Similarly, here is the Apoorvata, that until you are told about this in specific terms by the Vedas, it is invisible. That's the point. This is the Apoorvata. So there, tasting was the Apoorvata. Here, talking about it in very certain terms is the Apoorvata. Pramanaantaram avedyatvam. So Brahmanaha is Apoorvaha. Apurva means that you can't see it, but it has to be said in a particular way. That is also part of the lingam. So there, from here, one interesting thing is the Brahman is not only the pramanam, but also the prameyam. You see the point that we had earlier about the two ways of looking at the third verse. One was that it is the author of Vedas, and the other one is the Vishaya of Veda. As the Vishaya of Veda, it is Prameya Vishaya, what is known, not through which it is known. Both are correct. Through the Shastra, Brahman is known. So it is Pramana Vishaya. See, so Pramana Vishaya is Apoorvata. Means that unless you taste the salt, you cannot know it. You cannot know it. Same thing happens in the ocean. The fact it is salty will not be known until you swallow it or taste it. It's not visible. So similarly here, the Brahman is an invisible part of us. It is me. And it is really the Atma itself, but it has to be brought out in a particular way. That is the Apoorvata. That's the point we're making. Okay? So that's that. Then the next one is phalam. Phalam means benefit, fruitfulness. Because if there is a serious subject, unless there is some benefit for it, it is not worth studying. It is not just, Shastra gives this example that there are people who specialize all their life in some study of the habits of the birds. And one of my relatives, actually a younger person, a nephew, is a expert in ornithology. But ornithology means that it's good information. The lifestyle of certain birds, the number of teeth in a crow, all those kinds of things. But what is the benefit of it? The benefit could be that he becomes a professor. He teaches others to do the same thing. That's about it. At least get some employment. But other than that, there is no personal benefit as such. So this is called phalam. Here, the benefit of knowing Brahman is amazing. Brahmavit apnoti param in Taittiriya Upanishad. If you know the self, Brahman, all your problems in life are over, gone. You talk about benefit, can you think about a better benefit than this? So phalam is the next one. And all it's throughout the Shastra, not just in Taittiriya Upanishad. Then the next one is Arthavada. Arthavada means praise, stuti. Stuti. So here there are various different praise, but here he says, Eka Vijnanena Sarvam Jnanam Bhavati. Once you know this, you might as well know everything. This is how important it is. And means that if you know one topic in life, you don't get the benefit of other topics automatically. So if you know Telugu, then you don't automatically know English or Hindi or anything like this. You only know Telugu. So similarly Chinese, Swahili, etc., etc. Here, however, if you know Brahman, you might as well know everything. In fact, not as in might as well, you know everything. You become Sarvagya, Sarvavit. How? Because you know the essence of everything. You know the gold itself, not the specific ornament. And so this is the praise. So Shvetakavetu, for example, was, the very story, the very famous story that he was sent by his father to study with in a Gurukula. And when he came back, he was very proud, and he was saying, I have learned so much. And in fact, it is said that when he came back, he didn't even do namaskara to his father because he thought, now I have become a big scholar. And he had a chip on his shoulder. So his father, sensing this, he already knew exactly what was going to happen and so on, asked him, hey Shvetaketu, can I ask you a question? Did your teacher tell you something by knowing which everything might as well be known? Shvetaketu did not even understand the question at first. He asked himself, say that one more time. So he repeated it. Shvetaketu said, no. And he had some respect for his father, so he knew that he is not just talking nonsense. He says, is there a thing like that? He says, because my teacher, I was one of his favorite students, and he told me everything that needed to be known, and he never mentioned this. So his father said, I thought as much. Because he is a he is a guru of Sanskrit, mathematics, this, that, but not of Brahman, not Atma Vijnanam. He says, yes, that's how he started the teaching. So this is the stuti. This is the praise of Brahman. That once you, it's kind of like, if you want to specialize in making jewelry, then you better know exactly what the constituents of gold are, what is 22 karat gold, what is 18 karat gold, how do you melt it, how do you make shapes out of it. Once you know gold, you can make any ornaments from it. So this is like knowing the Atma. All of the Anatma becomes mithya. Doesn't matter. So this is why we don't have we don't require you to specialize in everything. See, this is an important thing to see. There's no need, because in our life we feel, I know a few things, but I want to be knowledgeable about lots of things, lot of subjects. But why do you want to be knowledgeable about a lot of subjects? Because, I'll become so wise. The Renaissance person, Renaissance man. Vedanta says you don't need to do that. If you just know the Atma, you might as well know everything. So this is called the stuti. Then, the last one. So, upakrama, upasamharo, Abhyasa number 3, Apoorvata number 4, Phalam number 5, Arthavada number 6, Upapattihi. Upapattihi is logic, reason. And that we just did Upapatti. Upapatti means that if you know the essence of the ornaments, which is gold in this case, then you might as well know everything. Makes sense? So this is what is called upapatti, which means it makes sense. So therefore, this is the litmus test through which the tatparya can be ascertained. So, even in the Bhagavad Gita, karma and jnanam and so on and so forth is not the subject matter. It is Brahman which is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. How do you know it? By applying all these things. Upakrama, upasamhara, abhyasa, etc., etc. And this is done in the Bhagavad Gita. Same repetition over and over again. Stuti. And the 18th chapter is a revision. Upasamhara. Apoorvata. All of that is done. That is how you ascertain what is the central theme of Shastra. Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the Shastra. And it is really Brahman alone which is the Tatparya. So this is what is called Samanvaya. Tattu Samanvayat. So we'll see if there's some more. I think I've pretty much covered the fourth sutra also. So let me look at it to see if there's some last few things I want to point out. Otherwise, then we will go to the revision of the new thing, which is an introduction to the entire 4 chapters, and then take up a few sutras from each one of them. So we will do that from next class. Om Rahu Grasta Divankarendu Sadrisho Maya Samachadinat Sanmatra Karanopasamharnato Yo Bhut Shushuptaf Puman Pragaswapsamiti Prabodha Samaye Yaf Pratyabhigyayate Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Balyadishu api jagradadishu tatha Sarva swavastha swapi Vyavritta svanuvartamanamahamityanta spurantam sada Swatmanam prakati karoti bhajatam Yo mudraya bhadraya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Vishwam Pashyati Karya Karanataya Swaswami Sambandataha Shishyacharyataya Tathaiva Pitruputradhyatmana Bhedataha Swapne Jagrati Vaya Esha Purusho Maya Paribhramitaha Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Bhurambhamsya Nalo Nilo Ambaramaharnartho Himamshuh Puman Ityabhati Characharatmakamidam Yasyaiva Murtyashtakam Nanyat Kinchana Vidyate Vimrishatam Yasmat Parasmat Vibhoho Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Sarvatmatvamiti Sputi Kritamidam Yasmadamushmin Stave Tenasya Shravanat Dattamananat Dhyanat Sankirtanat Sarvatmatvamaha Vibhuti Sahitam Syadishwaratvam Swataha Siddhyetat Punarashtadha Parinatam Chaishwaryam Avyahatam Ashubhani Nirachashthe Tanoti Shubhasantatim Smriti Matrena Yat Pumsam Brahmatan Mangalam Param Ati Kalyana Rupatvat Nitya Kalyana Samshrayat Smartranam Varadatvat Brahmatan Mangalam Viduhu Omkaraschatha Shabdascha Dvavetau Brahmanah Pura Kantham Bhitva Viniryatau Tasman Mangilikau Ubhau Omatha 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 Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Great. So, Bunny, wonderful to see you all attending this class. And good wishes to you all. Just a reminder that tomorrow at 9 o'clock we will have a Zoom satsang. And so if you're kindly interested, please tune into that. And it'll be an interesting. Even if you don't have any questions, I would like to just see you there and just talk about yourself or something. It'll be nice. All right, so we will see you tomorrow. Hopefully, if not, then the next week. Hari Om.